Hi there. My name is Gregory Ryan, and I'm a recent graduate of the coding bootcamp devCodeCamp. I'm making this video today to present my final capstone project that I made for the camp. That project basically entails a exercise or fitness web application that generates randomized yet appropriate exercise routines for the user. Now, these routines are generated on the basis of a few different user inputs. One of those is the equipment that the user owns, also the fitness goals of the user, and they can choose up to two, and then also their time constraints. So the exercise routine isn't just appropriate, it's also convenient and it fits within their schedule. The motivation for creating this application was born out of the COVID-19 pandemic and all of the challenges that were presented to people trying to maintain their level of fitness when all the gyms closed down and they had to resort to using their own equipment at home or working out outside. But aside from the COVID-19 pandemic, going to the gym was not always a comfortable experience for everybody. A lot of things that go on there, such as gym intimidation, unwanted pickup attempts, and sometimes there's contested equipment, all reasons that people tend to lean towards that alternative of working out from home. Now, the problem with that is you've got limited space, limited equipment, and then also you're probably sifting through YouTube channels or fitness articles for advice, and the advice is often unreliable. So that's where AutonoFit comes in. AutonoFit generates, like I said, an appropriate workout that is going to be similar to that which would be prescribed by a strength and conditioning coach or a personal trainer. So I'll give you a little bit of personal background on myself before we jump into the application and take it for a test drive. So I'm actually a licensed doctor of physical therapy, and I was practicing on a per diem basis up until a few months ago. So I was actually laid off as a full-time therapist in March of 2020 due to the COVID pandemic. As upsetting as it is getting laid off, it was a blessing in disguise. It allowed me to have some free time to explore my other interests and explore the problems that I had with my current career and find something that really suited me. And the thing that physical therapy was missing, it has problem solving. It has, it employs your powers of analysis. However, software development, it also does that stuff, but it also allows you to build things and be creative and do so while working on a team. So I had always been interested in this stuff. So I took the opportunity to take a class. I took Harvard's online CS50, Introductory to Computer Science, loved it. So from there, I shopped around for boot camps, and devCodeCamp was the one that really stuck out. It was a great experience with devCodeCamp. I was able to build this application. So yeah, let's jump right in and I'll show you end to end how this thing works. Okay, so here we are. This is AutonoFit. It was written using C# within the ASP.NET Core framework. It is given structure with the .cs HTML Razor pages. Styling is provided by CSS and also the Bootstrap library. And then there's a little bit of JavaScript here and there to add a little bit of extra, make certain pages more dynamic where it's needed. And then there's also an API that is used. It's an API, a REST API from wger.de. And this website that I mentioned, it is used for nutrition and exercise programming and planning. Now, the nutrition aspect is totally irrelevant for the purposes of this application. So the API was just used as an exercise library, essentially. So let's go take a look at what that looks like by registering a new client. All right, so here we are mid-registration. We get this little disclaimer that comes up. It's basically just saying that as a client, you recognize that you could get injured while exercising. That has nothing to do with AutonoFit. And then also, even though AutonoFit has some intelligence to it, it does not completely replace a licensed professional. So just making sure the client is aware of these things as they proceed forward. All right, all right, and then we have our registrant redirected to an equipment page. So you can select what you have at home. Of course, body weight will be pre-selected and disabled. And you can actually revisit the equipment page at any time. If you get new equipment, if you lose something, those changes can be made. So this is the main page here where you can go in a couple different directions. If you already have a program, you can continue. We do not have one yet. You can do a single individual workout here. However, that's not as interesting as what we're going to be doing. What we're going to be doing is creating a new program, because that is going to demonstrate something a lot more interesting, a lot more functionality, a lot more capability. We're going to see how you can actually be progressed through a program and how you can have multiple fitness goals served almost simultaneously. So here we're going to choose a name for our program. Let's say it's for volleyball training. Session frequency, how many times per week, and then you have how many minutes in the workout. You have a minimum of 20 minutes and then a maximum all the way up to 90 minutes. Basically, these parameters are there. Anything less than 20 minutes, I mean, what are you really doing? Are you getting in a good workout? If that's the case, probably not. Anything more than 90 minutes, it starts to be a little bit excessive. That isn't something that should be done on a regular basis. So there are certain considerations taken into account in many different places within the application, trying to steer people away from bad exercise habits and things that will lead to overtraining and overuse injuries. So let's go ahead and pick something moderate. Let's say a 50-minute workout. We're going to choose from our goals, and we have 5 represented here. These 3 will just involve lifting. These 2 do have some lifting involved, but are mainly going to be cardiovascular exercise focused goals. So that means the client will actually be going for a run if they select one of these. So if I select one of these, you'll see this new field populate. Enter the mile time. That serves as a baseline for progression through your cardio program. But let's take a look at how this application handles multiple goals. So let's select hypertrophy. So basically building muscle mass as our other goal. All right, moving forward, we've got our program overview and 0 workouts completed, of course. Workout completion percentage. This is something that appears once there's actual data to take from. So let's generate our next workout. Okay, so we have a cardio component and a lifting component. Now, I did tell you how it's mostly cardio focused if you do cardiovascular training. Now, this is not combining the goals. That's not what's happening here. The algorithm will alternate between one goal and the other, going back and forth. What's happening here is we are serving the cardiovascular endurance fitness goal, but right now we are at a certain part in the run rotation. So run workouts themselves will go between easy, moderate run, long run, and a speed run. So it starts off with the easy run, and because the easy run has such a short duration, there's plenty of time for a supplemental lift. So easy runs will always be paired with some lifting. If it happened to be the weight loss goal, you would see lower repetitions here. Weight loss is paired with hypertrophy implicitly, because gaining more muscle mass actually increases your metabolism. That will help you lose weight. But we chose cardiovascular endurance, so the implicitly paired lifting goal is going to be muscular endurance, and that's going to be higher reps. So you may have noticed this target pace is 13 minutes, 30 seconds. That is not what we entered, but it is meant to be this way. Depending on the type of run we're doing, there's a different coefficient that the pace is multiplied by. Because this is an easy run, it's a higher coefficient, and you get a more relaxed pace. If it was a speed run, that's going to be a lot closer to the pace that we entered. So it would be a little bit over 9 minutes. Let's go and focus our attention now up here on the lift. So you can open up any one of these instructions and see what you need to do. And then you've got your sets, your repetitions, your rest time. Like I alluded to before, I was talking about hypertrophy and muscular endurance having different number of repetitions. And that's exactly how it works. The sets, reps, rest time, those are dictated by the fitness goal present. So repetitions for this muscular endurance starts at 11. It's going to increment up by 3 whenever the client is progressed. And rest time will also decrease when the client is progressed. So it'll go 11, then 14, then 17, then 20. When it gets to 20, anything more than that, that's overkill. That's not really in the realm of muscular endurance anymore. We come back down to 11 reps, and it is that time which you increase your intensity. You increase the heaviness of the weights that you're using. Now, how do we know whether to increase repetitions or not? That is where this comes in. I neglected it till now. This is RPE. This is rating of perceived exertion. It's a scale that is used in exercise research and programming. It has a minimum of 6 and it has a maximum of 20. And basically it mirrors heart rate, or it's supposed to. If something is very easy, you're going to rate it a 6, and that means that it has you near resting heart rate, which is roughly 60. And then if something is, kind of at your end, at your capacity, you would rate it a 20, and that's going to correspond with a heart rate of 200, which is close to almost anybody's maximum heart rate. So the way this will increase is if the RPE decreases over time when you have 2 consecutive performances of a single given exercise, then that's an indication to the algorithm, okay, they're doing the same exercise for the same amount of sets, reps, and rest time, and it got easier for them as reflected by a decreasing RPE. Therefore, we can increase the repetitions. That's basically how it works. And then to come back down to cardio, to tie the RPE together here with how the RPE works with cardio, it's very similar. So if you have 2 of the same type of run, back to back, and you have a decreasing RPE, then that is going to be an indication that the target pace can be decreased. And that's referring to the baseline target pace. So that 9 minutes would go down to about 8 minutes, 59 seconds. All right, and then at that point, you just complete the workout. Again, I can demonstrate that we're going to alternate between goals the next time we go to work out. So now you have hypertrophy being served. 1 minute, 30 seconds. That's less time. It allows for more growth hormone production and more sets, less reps. But that's kind of the gist of it. So this was definitely a very rewarding and even fun project to do at times. There definitely was an abundance of challenges, however. Maybe the biggest among those was 3 days prior to my deadline. I'm starting to realize that with the algorithm I'm going with, it's maybe a little bit too accommodating. And if I keep going in that direction, I'm probably not going to finish in time. It's just a little bit too ambitious. So at that time, I had to make the decision of whether to hope and pray that I am going to finish in time and just keep putting all my hours in and keep trucking. Or on the other hand, I could kind of improvise at that point and change direction, kind of do a pivot and simplify the algorithm. So that's what I ended up doing. And I'm glad that that's the decision that I went with. And essentially what happened, it didn't just allow me to finish prior to the deadline. It also made the code a little bit better in a couple different respects. So by simplifying the algorithm, I was able to reduce things to more single responsibility. I was able to make code more reusable and make code more extendable. So it really was better in the long run that I decided to go that direction and simplify things a little bit. So as of right now, the application is a little bit more of a proof of concept. Now it is functional, although it's just not the most useful thing for someone like myself or anyone else who is trying to maintain fitness or progress their fitness. And I'll give an example of why it isn't. Let's take an exercise such as a plank. It's a stability exercise, so it's going to be done for a certain duration of time for a certain number of repetitions. Let's say like a 30-second hold for 5 repetitions. Now, the system that this application uses, it's putting every exercise in a model of sets, reps, and rest time. Now, it's not that I couldn't include a model that works for stability exercises where I just have a hold duration and also the repetitions and rest time. However, with the API I'm using with that exercise library, there's no way to search for exercises based on whether they're stability or whether they're an exercise that actually involves movement, like an isometric, like a concentric and eccentric exercise. So the single biggest thing that I could do to really elevate the program to the next level and make it useful for the public, and get it to be something that would be worthy of deployment, would be to swap out the API for a database, preferably a database of my own creation. So you would be able to have exercises categorized by what goals they serve, whether they're stability or not, and then you would be able to treat them the appropriate way. All right, well, that was my presentation. If you stuck with me this far, I thank you for taking the time out of your day, and I hope you liked what you saw. If there are any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Take care.